Welcome back to Antique Show and Sell. I'm Rhonda Pearson, along with my appraiser co-host, John Bruno. American art glass is not only among the most popular collectibles, it's also some of the most beautiful. Joining us from Philip Chasen Antiques is Philip Chasen himself. Welcome. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
How did you get involved in antiques?
Originally, I was a teacher, and it seems that one of the ways to get into the antiques business is to be a teacher, because many of the people that I know in the antiques business are former teachers. My sister bought a house upstate, and one day she said, "Would you like to help me decorate the house?" And I said, "No." And so she said, "Well, come on, let's go to an auction." And she dragged me, literally dragged me to an auction. And so it turned out to be lots of fun. And we bought all kinds of things, a sewing machine, a Singer sewing machine, all kinds of things that we didn't need. And we started attending auctions.
There you go, and that brought you here to us today.
Absolutely.
Teachers always have the summers off, so that's the time
there
to
you
sell.
go.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Now, I know that you are an expert in American art glass, but today you've specifically brought us Tiffany. When people think of Tiffany, they think of the lamp company, and I know you wanted to make a kind of a differential between all
Actually,
of them.
the Tiffany lamp company and the Tiffany glass that I brought here today is one and the same company. But what's not to be confused is Tiffany and Company and Tiffany Studios. Tiffany and Company, the famous jewelry store, was started by Charles Louis Tiffany, who was Louis Comfort Tiffany's father. And Louis Comfort Tiffany is the one who started Tiffany Studios. And the lamps, the glass, desk pieces, many other things were done by Tiffany Studios.
All right, well, let's talk about the glass that you've brought us today. I know you have a few categories here. What makes it so special?
Tiffany. Tiffany was,
Okay, that's it.
Tiffany was very demanding. He started out as an artist, did paintings and watercolors, traveled all over the world, and decided at some point that he could do his best work in glass. And so, because of the resources of his father, he was able to start Tiffany Studios, and then he got together glass blowers from Europe and chemists who experimented with all kinds of different glass, and he was able to have many successful experiments, and so he was able to ultimately achieve some of the results in glass that he hoped for.
Well, let's take a look at some of the pieces specifically. Do you have a favorite?
A favorite of this group?
Right.
Oh, I would have to say the large blue vase over here.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's blue, first of all.
Well, okay,
Very
we know
blue.
that.
Yes, very blue. And within Tiffany iridescent glass, blue vases are rarer, probably 5 times as rare as gold vases. And this is a particularly large one, beautiful form, strong blue, and with still an additional technique of carving. This is all hand carved, these leaves and vines. And usually Tiffany vases don't have that kind of carving. Only a small percentage have carving, and this is a beautiful example.
Carving into the top layer of the glass.
Absolutely.
To create this.
Yeah.
Think how delicate you have to be.
I'm afraid that you're touching it. I wouldn't want to do that.
Luckily, Phil is a buddy.
Okay.
He trusts me.
What is the value of this piece?
Approximately $12,000.
There's something really special about this. Let's show them the bottom, Phil.
Sure.
There's no such thing, and I may be wrong, correct me, as unsigned Tiffany.
You're wrong.
I am wrong. Okay, but this is signed, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's well signed.
This is well signed. Not only does it have etched in here with a needle-etched pen, you can just see it there, Louis Company's signature, but in the very center of the pontil, which is the blowing mark, when they actually blow the glass, there's still a paper label. And how rare is that? My goodness, these always fall off.
I noticed that you said this is all iridescent Tiffany glass.
Correct.
Is there another type?
Yes, there are several other types, of which I brought one other example called Tiffany Pastel Glass, which I brought some representative examples over there.
Absolutely love that.
Tiffany Pastel Glass is later Tiffany glass, started in the Douglas Nash period, about 1918, and lasted through till about 1928. And the pastel glass was more utilitarian. And you can see over here I brought some examples. We have wine glasses in different shapes, colors, sizes. We have candlesticks, and we have a little compote which could have been used for nuts or fruit, small fruit, candies.
Are there specific designers of each? I mean, when it's created in the factory, are some of the designers more popular or more valuable than
It's
others?
impossible to know.
Okay.
There were several groups of designers, gaffers, that blew the different glass, but they didn't sign their names. And so it's impossible to know who did what.
Did they all do it under Lewis's tutelage? Was he there supervising, or to his specifications?
Absolutely.
So
designs, new shapes, new designs, new colors, new techniques, all had to be approved by Tiffany himself.
I've also heard he was exceptionally fussy. He would break what appears to be otherwise flawless pieces because it was the most minor little flaw in the finish.
He was fussy, he was demanding, but in fact, Tiffany did sell some damaged pieces.
Oh.
In fact, a museum in 1896 bought a whole selection of Tiffany glass, and Tiffany actually sold them some cracked pieces at half price.
Oh, what a deal.
That's incredible.
I want to ask you about the gold. The gold to me is so beautiful. Is it more valuable because it's in gold?
Actually, it's less valuable.
Okay.
It was extremely popular when it was new. It's still very popular today, but the supply is plentiful. And so it's supply and demand. The larger the supply, the lower the price. There are some wonderful pieces in gold Tiffany iridescent glass, and if a collector wanted to start with more reasonably priced items, gold Tiffany glass would be a wonderful place to start.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned about starting, because a lot of people watching our show want to know, how do you start collecting something in particular? And in this particular, can you give any advice?
Well, I have to first quote from Cy Sims, that an educated consumer is our best customer.
Okay.
And so I try and teach. Being a former teacher, I still am a teacher, but now I teach about antiques, and I try and inform people as best I can. The more you know, the more time you spend visiting antique shows, visiting antique sites on the web, talking to dealers, visiting shops, the more questions you ask, and the more you learn, the better it is to get into collecting.
And dealers love talking about their stuff, so it's not wrong to get into a conversation with them.
Absolutely,
No.
absolutely. I mean, how can
lovely.
somebody go out and spend several hundred or $7,000 if they don't know what they're buying?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So we know how to start a collection. We know to be careful with it, because all this is in pristine condition. Where do you keep yours stored? Very quickly. I mean, how do you keep it stored?
Well, I'm a dealer, so it's a little bit different than for collectors, but most collectors have display cabinets.
Okay.
And just put them in display cabinets.
Keep them away from the kids.
Right. You know, if you don't have small children, you're obviously going to store them differently than if you've got cats, dogs, and small children.
There you go. Thank you very much, Philip. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Be sure to log on to Philip's website, chasenantiques.com. We're going to have more great items when we return, including a pair of Sasha Brostoff platters. You're watching Antique Show and Sell on Metro TV.